Welcome to the Scribbler set. I'm Dee, and today I am feeling, I don't know, kind of groovy.
I'm C, and I'm feeling excited because it's officially spooky season.
I'm B, and I'm feeling excited because it's almost fall, and that's my season.
No, it's already officially fall. Just accept it.
I mean, we
It's not
are,
here. It's
we're
not
in the
here.
Burr months, though.
True.
Once you enter the Burr months, it's officially fall.
No, I don't consider it fall until I see the leaves change colors
Oh,
and
they're
I'm
changing colors
cold.
here. It's nice to be on the East Coast.
I'm being a hater right now.
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry. Honestly, I am. Well, today we're the Scribbler sets, and this is Sunday Sips with the Scribbler set, and I am sipping water because I need to stay hydrated. What are you
I'm
sipping on?
also sipping water, but it's liquid death. This is my favorite water.
She's bougie,
Sponsor
y'all. She's
me.
bougie.
It's an obsession. It's sick.
I'm also sipping water, ice water because I'm hot.
Staying hydrated.
This is why we all have such beautiful glows to our skin, guys.
Yes.
Water. So, this week we are talking about an aspect of writing that people will sometimes ask you. Are you a planner or are you a pantser? I think we all have different perspectives on it. And so I'm interested to see. Brittany, are you a planner or a pantser? Or, well, actually, why don't we define what a planner and a pantser are? Who wants to give us those definitions? Shantae? Brittany?
Well,
Pantser is
I
Brittany.
Well, just overall, like, what is a planner and what is a pantser? What are those
well,
things?
A
for me,
planner.
go ahead.
Oh, a planner is someone who needs to set up their steps one by one before they can begin writing. So whether that's getting most of their research done, outlining, they will have a set goal for each step of the way as they're writing to stay organized and on track. Pantser?
A pantser is someone who does the opposite. They come up with an idea, they jump into writing. Usually they don't have an outline or anything. It's more of like they go with what's coming to their head at the moment. And you're just flying off the seat of your pants, basically. That's where the name comes
Yeah.
from.
All right. So, of those two, I'm sensing that you may have been describing your leaning, but I could be wrong. Why don't you tell us? Brittany, planner or pantser?
I'm definitely a pantser. I go into writing a story with the intention of planning, and there's so much that I've written down, and then I go back and I look at it, and it's not even remotely close to what I had outlined. So for me, it's just easier because the ideas come to me as I'm going, and it's like I don't know, my best ideas come on the fly. When I'm planning, it seems like it's not as natural for me. So
Mm.
yeah.
Shantae.
I'm a planner with some pantser inclinations. I have to have an outline. I have, like, if I'm writing like a full book, I will need like a storyboard. I went to school for videography, so storyboarding and things like that became part of my habit. So it really helps me to, especially when it comes to the characters. I need to have like visualizations, and then also as I'm writing, if something else comes up, I'll add it to the board so that way I remember it while I'm writing things about this character, because you might forget something simple as, oh, they have a birthmark under their left eye. And then 3 books later, you say their birthmark under their right eye. And then some reader is going to be like, wait a minute.
That reader will never be me. It will never be me.
Oh, yeah, I'll never
I will
notice.
do it.
It's been noticed. So I try to be a planner in those aspects. And honestly, I write better when I have an outline. I do pants while I'm writing. So if something changes the same, I'll go and update my outline as I go.
So for me, in my post, I break it down a little bit for you guys, for if you want to read like the what a pantser is, what a planner is. My post I kind of created um, for you guys too. So you can check out my Monday post and you'll see like what a planner versus a pantser is. And then I added something because I feel like for me, I'm not quite either. I'm a Gemini, guys. I, like try to be like so I put in betweener because I'm kind of in between a planner and a pantser. I like to come up with an outline once I have the idea, but I'm never like fully set on whatever I've written out as like what I think might happen because my brain will just go in a whole other direction. So I, for myself, like I will at times just start writing and like get to a certain point and kind of like because the idea that those creative juices are flowing, and then I've learned from my sister to stop it when I feel like I can't keep moving, like I'll go back and then I'll try to outline a little bit to give myself more direction on where I want it to go because like you have so many ideas, it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to focus in. So that's why I say like I'm more of an in-betweener because I don't quite plan, I don't quite pants. I'm just like walking that fine line in between the two.
Having
So
a goal, like a finishing line for your story, for your book or whatever, it really does help, like, because even if your brain, because we're all creative, we're all writers. So as you are writing, things will come to you. But if it's not going to lead you to that goal, you can kind of rein it back in and maybe, jot that down and save it for another story because it's not really lending itself to reaching that finish line right now. So I think that that's okay to acknowledge too. It might be a really great idea for another story.
Well, and I want to say this. So for those people who like really just can't, and like I can, but I can't at the same time. And you find yourself finding your ideas as you write. Like for me, when I'm writing, like everything's playing out in consecutive order, like a movie in my brain. So it's like once I'm writing it, it's like the movie is paused if I don't have my next scene. And then that next scene, as I'm playing it in my head, will change various different times. And then when I find the one that I like, that's the one that I write down. But I do understand, like, as far as, like later on being like, oh, what if this changed or this changed? So, what I found that helps me is taking notes after you've written. So, like, you have your full on pants three chapters that you wanted to write, and you're like, okay, well, I don't have an outline, I'm not really sure, like what if I forget later on, like you have that part that you like. So take notes on what you've already written, the characters, the ideas, everything. So when you do get to that next part, you can just go back and be like, okay, I put that this person was this person was this age, blah, 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 blah. It's like kind of, it's not an outline, but it's like a reminder of what you had already written because you didn't plan it ahead of time. So,
that's like your character boards, right, Shantae? Like you
Yeah, similar. Yeah, as I'm writing, if something about that character develops, or if they have
mm-hmm.
even like familial relations, that stuff becomes so easy to forget as you're going. Even just like something like gender, as you're writing, you will get caught up
Oh
and
my
be like,
God.
wait a minute, what was
One of my characters had a full-on sex change in my book. Like they were a man starting out. By the end of it, it was a woman, and I was like, "Hold on a second. Now I gotta go back."
it just happened. Life
Yeah,
happens.
it does happen. That's why my character board, like, and it'll be like one of those. I think I've shown it in a previous video, but it's like a big board that I'll put right behind my computer as I'm writing, and be like, "What
Mm-hmm.
was her middle name again?" Okay, great.
This kind of it gave me the visualization. You remember those choose your story books, like where you get
Mm.
to like the end
Love
of a chapter and it's
loved
like
those.
if you want this then go to this page,
Mm.
if they're going to walk down the dark tunnel, then go to this page. And like kind of the way you were describing your writing, Brittany, felt like
Mm-hmm.
that to me. It's like when you're writing this story, you're like, choose your
That's technically
story.
how it feels. Like even sometimes, like if I have multiple ideas, like it almost is like a game for me. That's what makes it so fun. It's like you guys know, like the D&D dice. Sometimes I'll be like, which idea am I gonna choose next? And I'll just roll the dice and see what happens. So it's fun.
So, in talking about these, one thing that I did address in my post about planning and pantsing is that a lot of times we feel like we have to define ourselves as writers or creatives. Like, which one are you? Are you a planner or are you a pantser? And like I said, for me, I'm more of an in-betweener. But do you feel like I think everybody should write or create the way that works best for them, as long as you're being productive. And a thing that I said was like, I think it's important to, if you find that you are getting to roadblocks or you're not being as productive as, you would, then maybe it's time to reassess how you're doing things. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean like you're changing who you are, but sometimes you have to get that little push to take you over that hump that you've hit. And
Yeah.
so I do think it's, you don't have to put yourself into a box and say I'm either or like define like, oh, what genre are you? What kind of like, like what kind of writer are you? Like it's nice to have that idea, but I think also it's okay to be free with it, but then also
Mm-hmm.
to like look at those other things and find ways to help yourself stay motivated.
Right.
But
Nothing is concrete and set in stone. It's not like you have to be either or. So
yeah. And I think too, it's like one thing, like anytime I do something creative, I'm always like, how can I make money doing this? Like, can I make this my life? Can I do this all the time and not have to work a regular job, right? And I think
mm-hmm.
that when I start to do that, that's when it starts to get into that place of like I have to define what I'm doing, and I have to, and it gets
Mm-hmm.
like it stops being fun. So it's
Yeah.
like I think part of like the writing process is like that it is fun for us. It's fun creating stories. It's fun building worlds and meeting new characters. But like when we start to get too rigid and like defining how we're doing that, it can take away some of that joy that comes from doing it. It's just my thoughts.
Yeah. True, true.
So, planner versus pantser, what are you guys, or do you feel like you fit somewhere in between like me, or have you not even thought about it at all? But, like we said, these are, thinking about it can help give you like a push and like a little bit more direction if you need it when you're writing to get stuff done. Um, any final thoughts, ladies? Planner versus pantser?
My only final
I
thought
will
is no
reiterate
matter
that I think no matter what, if you're a planner or a pantser, you need to have a goal. I just think so. Like a
why
finish
did
line.
you just steal
Not a
the
goal
words right
for
out of
your,
my mouth?
huh?
You stole the words right out of my mouth.
Oh. But I mean, no, I mean, that just shows you that it is important because we both I lean more towards planner, she leans more towards pantser, and we're both saying you should have something that you want to reach. And I mean that within the story. I don't mean like monetary goal or anything like that. Like when I wrote my most recent story, I knew where I wanted the characters to end up. I knew where I wanted them to be by the end of it. So everything like in between could be me pantsing it as I'm writing, but I'm like, it gives me a way to like bring it back and be like, okay, how can I get from point A to point B? What is my body? What is like, when you were in high school and stuff and like
The
breaking
hamburger.
yeah.
So let me ask you, do you think it's better to start with the beginning in mind or the end in mind?
I mean, I don't think it matters how you start in that
Like when
case.
you're coming up with like the goal, like do you find you more often like start like you have like this in picture in your mind and then you build your
I
story from
No,
there,
I
or you
usually
start
have the beginning in mind first.
mm,
Me, I have the end. Like I know
Mm.
exactly where it's like where I want to be. The
mm,
beginning, I feel like is is harder for me But once
Mm.
you get that down, it's like anywhere, like the journey can be anything from in between. But like for me, I always see like what I want it to be at the end first. And I don't know why. It's just like, okay, well, I know that my characters are gonna be freaking partying at this tavern, blah, 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 celebrating their win or whatever. And like all that is something at the beginning. Before that is all up here, I guess. It's just waiting to be black onto the page.
Yeah, it's usually opposite for me. Like that catalyst moment, that beginning moment is usually
Mm.
what gives me the idea to write something in the first place. Like I'll be like, what if?
Those what if conversations all the time. But I don't know why. Like I never see like the very specific moment that it starts. Like I'll have the
Mm.
what if and then it's like, but then this will happen and this will happen and this will happen and then like I don't know.
For me,
Fair.
it's like I get more, not even like a scene, it's more just a character. Like,
Mm.
and so like I'll be like, oh, she's interesting. And then want to start writing something. So I think like taking time to visualize what I think the end might be will help
Mm.
me to build their story. Because
That's
I
so
get,
interesting how different we all are. I never, and I can say this like hand on heart, I have never once in anything I've written thought of the character first. I will have the
What?
idea. Yep. I will have the idea and then I'll be like, okay, who is this? Who is this person? Like once I have the idea of what I want to happen, it's like then I build up like, okay, who is the main character in this? Like what kind
uh,
of person would live this life? I think that's so interesting how different
that's
that
why
is.
like if you read like a lot of my stories, it's usually like first person speaking because
Mm,
I'm always meeting the character first and I'm like, all right, you're telling me your story, so I'm just writing it down.
Yeah.
Like, so I think like to help myself get stronger in my writing, a thing that I want to do is like start trying to like visualize like scenes that I want to happen so that I
Yeah.
can build their story along the way, and particularly like what the end is. Cause like I never know what the end is because I'm like, are you gonna tell me? Like, come on, girl. Like,
mm,
you talking to like what is the end of this story? I don't know. So I think like taking it sounds so I sometimes guys, I swear I'm not like
you just sounded like a valley girl. Guys, I swear.
guys, guys, I
Guys, as
swear.
F Luther. Whatever.
No, it's just because like sometimes like I hear myself talking, I'm like, dude, you sound like a little bit loca, right?
But it's not though. I mean,
Because
first
I'm
of
like,
all,
I'm having whole conversations in my head, like, okay, you tell me the rest of your story, like what's going on?
It's
There's
not
no
that
one
it's
there.
crazy, but I could see that it would be frustrating.
mhm.
Like
Yeah.
waiting for the end to just come to you. Like I feel like that would, even if it's like an abstract idea, like they live happily ever after. What is that happily ever after of them and how can you build to that? Or like they get married. Okay, how can that all this crazy shit's happening? How are they how is that going to be this
Yeah.
character's goal? It like and honestly, sometimes like if you like having like different scenes that you want in it, it does make for me personally writing more fun because like sometimes when you're writing something, it can feel like you're peeling the skin off one layer at a time. Like it's just painful. So then I'll be like, I'll put a pause on that, make like a big red highlight, like come back to this later, and then skip to a scene that I feel like writing that day and write that and focus on that. And then when I feel refreshed and ready to get back to that, because I already know where I'm going, it makes it easier to get back to that scene that was like torture to write.
Yeah. It's definitely something I need to start incorporating more in my process because a thing I struggle with is finishing. Like I'll get pretty far and deep into a story and then I'm like I have no idea where the freak this is going.
Mm.
And then so I'll start hearing another idea, another voice and I'm like, all right, wait, girl, that sounds interesting too. All right. So
You're
I
like
just
that meme where it's like she's walking with her boyfriend and he goes, oh yeah, when you see another girl and he's like interest peaked and everything.
I
Like that's the
literally am.
story.
That's
Yeah.
me writing. That's me writing. And so I'm trying to become more focused. So I think these
Yes.
are important things for us to think about to help us with our writing process. Like I said, don't put yourself in a box, but it doesn't hurt to incorporate some of these things to help yourself
Yeah.
complete and reach the goal that you set for yourself. Instagram and Facebook, and we want to talk to you guys. So follow us and send us your stories and your, well, not your stories, your poems, haikus. Yay. All right. Peace out, guys.
Bye.